Hello everyone, welcome to Narayana IAS, and as a part of daily news analysis, we bring the 5 most important articles to you from The Hindu and Indian Express. And in continuation of the same series, today's 5 articles are: number 1 is Quota and Equality, where in this article we will discuss the argument in favor and in against of reservation, especially in light of the news where the Patna High Court has struck down the reservation given by the Bihar government exceeding 65%. Second, we will discuss the article New Cold War, where we will talk about the recent pact signed by North Korea and Russia and what will be the geopolitical consideration or significance of this particular pact. Third, we will talk about what is the twin test in case of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which was in news recently in the case of the arrest of the Arvind Kejriwal, Chief Minister of Delhi. Fourth, we will talk about the Anti-Cheating Act, which is notified by the central government recently in light of the leakage of various examinations that are conducted by the NDA, be that UGC NET or even NEET examination. And lastly, we will discuss the manufacturing PMI index, which has risen up significantly along with the job creation of fastest in the 18 years. So what is PMI? We will discuss in this article completely. And once we are done with all this article, we will discuss the prelims and mains question on this particular article. And once we are done with all of this, we will discuss a prelims and mains question on this article. So let's begin. So let's start with first article, that is Quotas and Equity. In this article, we will talk about reservation, especially in light of what Patna High Court has done. It has struck down the reservation given by the Bihar government, which exceeded the 50% ceiling introduced by the Indira Sahani case. So from this perspective, we will discuss this article. Especially, like reservation is something UPSC also asked question if it is in news for a long time. Like in 2019, reservation for women was in news because we were trying to introduce a legislation in parliament. That's why it was in news, and there on that year itself, the UPSC asked question: the reservation of seats for women in institution of local self-government has a limited impact on patriarchal character of Indian political process comment. So you can see, and even this year reservation is in news because the Karnataka government tried to do so, Maharashtra government tried to introduce a reservation and then not introduce, exceed the reservation. Same was done by the Bihar government as well. So as a result, the reservation has come back to the news, and thus we need to talk about it again. Okay, now this time why is it in news? Because the Patna government has, like I said, has struck down the reservation that was given by the Bihar government that increased the reservation from 50% to 60% the government jobs and educational institutions. Okay, now let's start with the background from where it started. Why are we talking about this? The story started from the Bihar government actually increasing the reservation from 50% to 65% in employment and education based on the reports of the Bihar Caste Survey. So it is Bihar Caste Survey which was the reason behind this. Now, what was actually the revelation by the survey? The survey said that in case of Bihar, the OBC, SC, ST and the economically backward class caste, the EBCs constitute 85% of state population. 85% of state population is backward. And that's why the Bihar government said the reason that the people of Bihar need reservation more than the national level that is over there because more people are in backward state. But Patna High Court struck it down. Now, what was the reason? Judicial reason given for that. Patna High Court struck down the reservation by saying that the Indira Sahani case has established a limit of 50% on the reservation to ensure the meritocracy and efficiency in the administration. So there is a 50% ceiling for the merit and efficiency in the administration. Second, the actually court also introduced a principle which says that our constitution required adequate representation of the marginalized community, not the proportional representation. Okay, if there is 85% people who are backward, there should be 85% reservation in the Bihar government, then that should be the case. So constitution never envisaged this. Constitution said the adequate representation in order to satisfy the interests of the different sections of society. That's so Patna High Court ruling is very relevant over here. Next is, it says that even this proportional representation does not apply to Article 15 and 16 because it also does not, Article 15 said adequate representation and does not say proportionate representation. The same, the precedent was even set by the previous government before Inder Sahani, like the Mr. M.R. Balaji case 1963 and the Deva Dasan case in the 1964. So overall, the government keeps up the strand that 50% limit should not be breached. However, I remind you, and even you must be having doubt. Don't you think we have actually breached this limit? Yes, we have breached this limit in case of EWS category, economically weaker section of society, where this 50% limit was challenged in the Supreme Court. This was given by the central government. This was challenged in Supreme Court, where 10% economically weak reservation was given to EWS section. But Supreme Court upheld it in 2022 by saying that the 50% ceiling applies only to ST, SC and OBC quotas. Like, even I don't get the reasoning. It's very arbitrary, basically. So you can see the arbitrariness in this, and it says ki whether reservation stays in a state or not depends upon the discretion on the judgment. And rightly, you can see the writer of the article was like, the tone became a little annoyed that there is so much discretion. It's like there is no objectivity in this. And you can see the Bihar is not the only government who has asked for the reservation. The state government has also tried. Like Tamil Nadu has done that long time ago, whereby the 76 Constitutional Amendment Acts, its reservation exceeding 50% was put into the 9th schedule outside the purview of the judicial review. You know that judicial review after some time is allowed even for the 9th schedule, but there is a time limit to that. Second is, in case of Maharashtra government, it also came up with a reservation with the reservation exceeded 50% to 68%, but Supreme Court struck it down. So, same in case of Bihar, same in case of Maharashtra, and same something happened in case of Karnataka as well. Now, let's talk about why Bihar government brought this. First of all, Bihar, the caste survey says that the 85% population is marginalized and backward. And Bihar says that this state has the lowest per capita income, highest fertility rate, and a significant poverty, which actually makes a compelling reason for it to be like, for the reservation to be exceeded the national average level. They even take the data, like Niti Aayog's 2021 multi-dimensional poverty data index suggests that 50% of the Bihar's population is poor and agricultural dependent, where 50% of Bihar workforce is actually working in agriculture and contribute just 25% of the GDP. 50% population is just 25% of the state income goes to 50% of population. So the income level is really less. And that's why they said ki efficiency, like the key reservation should be given to the Bihar, to the Bihar's population more than the national level. Second is, the argument over here is efficiency. They said ki historical judgment, the previous historical judgment given by the Supreme Court also state that the reservation does not impair administrative efficiency. So this argument should not be brought upon here. Okay, so this was argument in favor. Then what is argument against? The argument against suggests that maybe you can say the meritocracy is not impacted, but if the reservation is to the extent of 65% and even beyond that, like 68% in case of Maharashtra, this actually undermines the principle of recruitment based on merit. It's not just the inside the administration. The people should also be given equal opportunity. Like 50 reservation beyond 50%, that means a larger section of society is not getting adequate. Like it's not getting equality of opportunity. Their merit is being undermined, which is even not liked by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He did not envisaged that reservation to continue beyond 20 years or beyond 2 decades or 3 decades. But it has now become a existing reality for India that we are fighting for more and more reservation instead of finally being done with it. Okay, now that we are done with it. Second is, we have to understand that reservation is not a panacea or it's not a solution to the existing structural issues in our society and economy. Now, let's understand that our society is hierarchical in terms of caste, class, value, etc., gender. How much reservation then you will give? You will ultimately have to create a value-based society which cherishes equality. Reservation is not going to give the solution to this. You have to give value-based education. That means our education is where we are falling. And we are failing to such an extent that a Socham report says that the 40% of our graduates are unemployable. So you give reservation is not going to benefit because the education is not going to benefit if there's unemployable. So the problem is to actually improving the quality as well as the quantity of education, which can actually make people employable, and maybe they can create job for themselves instead of seeking jobs. Also, you need to understand the government creates only 4% of the jobs in economy. And you're talking about 85% of the population. Can 85% of population be given the 4% of the job and be done with it? No, that's not good. That's inadequate ultimately. So you have to create jobs in private sector. Yeah, wahan pe we are going to give the reservation. No, that's not solution, right? And ultimately, this is not what a reservation was envisaged, or it was its original duty. Originally, we expected reservation to correct the historical injustice and social backwardness that takes generation to cure. It was not for economical backwardness. Ki simply economical backwardness can be dealt by this. No, it was to historical injustice that cannot be corrected in one generation, two generation, requires a lot of time. Okay, so moving ahead, now what can be done? So number one is a diversification education. That means work on both the platform. Platform in terms of the original problem is unemployment. People need job. We are experiencing jobless growth. We are having a jobless growth. So work, first of all, need to reduce dependence on agriculture. If 50% population is dependent on it, then diversify. Deal with the overcrowding of agriculture. Remove the population from there. Remove the dependence on agriculture, attract investment in the productive sector, and expand educational opportunities and address the skill deficit, which is the original reason behind the unemployment. Second is bring other schemes for the marginalized section. Focus on them. Maybe some tailor-made or target intervention schemes for that particular section, skilling them, giving them capital to raise their own business, own enterprise, which is going to have more long-lasting results. They will not come back to you and say, we need reservation. No, they're more likely to create or continue their business. Lastly, we have to come up with innovative solutions beyond reservation. Maybe we have to change this mentality beyond reservation, that for every solution, that every problem the economy is facing, let's move to reservation. No, we are not going to have. Reservation is not a one-stop solution for anything. And Patna's High Court judgment actually underscores this need, that we are suffering from multidimensional issue. And one-step solution given by reservation is actually, it's not a one-step solution. We need to come up with alternate strategy to deal with this kind of unemployment that country is going through, and it need to address that particular problem. Now, let's move on to the next article. Now, let's start with the second article, that is New Cold War. We are talking about this in light of the where North Korea and Russia has signed a pact with each other, and this is going to have a geopolitical implications, where people are saying that this may lead to a Cold War because this may result in formation of further alliances. And for us, it is important from the GS paper 2 mains perspective, because the kind of impact it will have on India's foreign policy paradigm is important for us. Even in PT, a similar question can be asked from a deal perspective. Like there is a question, India signed a deal known as Action Plan for Polarization and Implementation of Cooperation Area in Nuclear Field. With which of the following country? Japan, Russia, UK, or US? So like the answer is US, definitely. But what I'm saying is, if the deal is like that, can have such a significant consequences on the global scenario, can be asked in examination easily. Moving on to, like I said, why are we talking about? Because recently Russia and North Korea has signed a deal, and that can be actually interpreted maybe as the beginning of a new Cold War era. Okay, now before we start anything, we need to understand what is the deal, what are the finer points of the deal. Now, the first point of the deal is security pact, the most controversial aspect of this, under which the Russia and North Korea has promised each other of a mutual assistance and military support in event of the war on any of them. If a third party attacks on Russia or North Korea, any of them, the other party will come and provide the military support to other. And this, they say, is in line with the Article 51 of the UN Charter. Okay, now let me explain Article 51 of the UN Charter to you so that you know. Now, under Article 51 of the UN Charter, this gives rights to an individual or a collective a right of self-defense in event of war or act of war on a particular country or particular individual. So if there is an act of war in a nation, then that nation or even collective of nation can defend themselves. This is what Article 51 is about. And this article, they don't have to wait for the UNSC to act, because definitely UNSC act in such cases in order to restore the peace, theoretically, not always. That's where the actually joke lies. Also, this article also says that but as in the event of such kind of act of self-defense, this does not prohibit UNSC to act in future to restore peace further. So that is Article 51 of the UN Charter. That's why I'm talking about this, because this is in news and UPSC can frame a question regarding this. Second, the aspect of the deal is that they have decided that they will try to build a just and multipolar world. Like, we are talking about bipolarity in here, but they are saying, no, we will try to build a multipolar world. Like the rhetoric we said, but something else we are planning to do. The second aspect of this particular pact is important. They say they will strengthen defense capabilities of each other, especially. That's where the concern lies, because Russia has good defense capability. North Korea is working on it. It is nuclear capable. If it gets a better access to defense technology, it is an irresponsible country. It can have a debilitating consequences on the global scale. Next is the third aspect of this pact is the economic cooperation, where they will provide the food assistance. Russia will provide the food assistance to North Korea. Now, moving on to what is the significance of the pact? First of all, to both the countries. If you will see, Putin has visited actually North Korean capital after 24 years. That means it is a strategic shift in the relation. It's not a routine affair. After 24 years, Putin is visiting North Korea. Second is, there is a historical, it's actually strengthening of the historical alliances. North Korea and Russia were actually on the similar axis. That when the divide happened, you will often find Russia, China, and even North Korea on the same side, though they keep on changing sides. But overall, when it comes to West, they are considered as the anti-West alliances because they have anti-West sentiments. And reason being, West has actually put sanction on these 2-3 countries, especially Russia and North Korea, for one reason or another. So, driven by the similar grievances, they have come together and reawakened this particular alliance. Okay, now, what is the reason for this shift? Historically, they were allies, but they did not meet. Like the president did not visit the North Korea for 24 years. Then why the all of a sudden shift? The reason, the biggest reason is a Ukraine war and North Korea's stance on it. Okay, how North Korea reacted to the Ukraine war, because the West was criticizing and Russia was looking for allies at that time, be that China, be that North Korea. And in the North Korea, it actually found an ally at the right time, a strategic ally at the right time. And that's why you can see a shift, because North Korea provided ammunition or any military support that Russia needed. It actually was more in nominal in terms. Russia, in result, gave North Korea food, fuel, and any critical defense technology that was required by North Korea that time. That's the reason North Korea is not going to demilitarize or denuclearize very soon. Now, moving on to the broader consequences of this. When we were talking about the global war, that how it can lead to a Cold War. Reason being, because you can see the two alliances or the two axes are forming right now. On one axis, you can see Russia. It is also led by China. And then there is Iran over here. And then North Korea is also part of this. On other axis, you can see tripartite agreement between US. It's led by basically US. And then Japan. And then South Korea. Overall, Japan is like, US is also trying to bring Australia into this or New Zealand into this. And that's why the foreign experts are saying that right now we have two axes are developing. Something that we saw even before World War I and World War II, that they were alliances, and even Cold War era, they were alliances. So if seeing loyalties and alliances are forming right now, then experts are saying maybe we are jumping into new Cold War era. Okay, so this was the first consequence, is a possibility of the Cold War in event of the alliances. Second is regional consequences. In this light, in this particular scenario, Russia may actually have the relationship of Russia with Japan and South Korea, which are its neighbor, may actually get worse. They may not improve. Instead, they get worse. So they may deteriorate. So that is the another consequence of it. So first is Cold War. Second is the relationship. Third, actually, the third element, the most important beneficiary is going to be North Korea. And those who are going to be the loss, it will be the other countries. Because in this entire scenario, now North Korea doesn't have any kind of incentive to demilitarize or denuclearize. Instead, it actually have a moral support of the Russia. Why denuclearize right now? Second is, there is a possibility of transfer of the military technology and missile technology to North Korea from Russia, which is not a good news for anyone. Because such kind of war, weapons should not be given to an irresponsible country and irresponsible leader, which actually North Korea has. Now, coming back to the implications for India, what implication will it have for India? Now, given India always support a multipolar world, and when the world is going towards a direction of bipolarization, it is not a good news for India. Because soon India will find that its allies are on both sides, and India may be asked to choose loyalty when the allies are on both sides. So this will create challenges for the foreign policy paradigm in India. That's where we may have to walk a tightrope. Earlier, we had a NAM policy, but then we are saying we are following NAM policy in spirit. We are not talked about for such a long time. So what policy are we going to come? Are we going to take side or not? What would the consequences? How the relationship is going to be impacted? It's a wait and watch scenario for India. So with this, we're done with this news article. Now let's move on to the next one. Moving on to last article, that is Act Punishing Organized Cheating comes into effect. So it's also called as Anti-Cheating Effect has come into effect. Now, why are we talking about this? Because recently we have heard the news about first a NEET exam got leaked. Then there was the series of UGC NET, UGC CSIR, as a result of which the entire authority and credibility of the NTA is being questioned. Now, what government has done, some exam have cancelled. As now on top of it, it has also passed. It has notified, not passed. It has notified the Anti-Cheating Act, or also called as Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act. This comes in the GS paper 2, issues relating to development. Now, in 2019 also, the UPSC keep on asking questions like there is a question on environmental protection in 1986, the kind of power it gives to the government. State the requirement of public participation in the process of environmental protection, procedure and manners which is sought. It lays on the standard for emission or discharge of the environmental pollutant from the various sources. So if there is an act, even act can be asked in an examination. That's what this question is trying to say. They don't think that act will not be asked. No, its provision can be asked. And so can be Anti-Cheating Act. So moving on to the context, I've given you context. After the NEET, the leak of the NEET paper, series of anti-examination paper leaks, the government had to do something besides just cancelling examination. One of the step it has done is the notification of Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024. Let's refer to as Anti-Cheating Act. That's how it is referred in newspaper. Now, although you may think that it is notified right now, it was not passed right now. It was passed in February 2024, February 12. And one more interesting thing, the NEET exam was leaked on 5th of May. So it's a funny aspect that just before the leak started happening, the government has passed the act before. It is being notified right now by the Department of Personnel on June 21, 2024. That's mentioning the dates. Otherwise, that's not important. I'm just explaining you the chronology. First passing of the act, then leakages, and then notification. So now it is being notified by the DOPT. Now, what are the provisions of the Act? The Act provides for several penalties for various exam-related malpractices. Like, it provides for imprisonment up to ranging from 3 to 5 years if somebody is found to be guilty in such kind of offence. Second, there can be a fine of up to 10 lakh, and service provider, the offender will be fined for 10 lakhs, and the service provider, that means who facilitated this, will be fined up to 1 crore along with the recovery of the examination cost. So whatever the examination has cost, now that will be also be recovered from that individual who was trying to earn that much of money in a very small span of time by ruining the futures of the student. Third is the disqualification. It also provides for the service provider who is responsible for this will be disqualified and barred from conducting any public examination for 4 years. It should be for indefinite, but 4 years is here. Now, what are the offences covered under the Act? So it defines what Act can be covered, like leakage of question paper or key, assisting any candidate unauthorizedly, like you're not a blind person, etc. Still somebody has come to assist you. Third, tampering with the computer system, like manipulating its computer network resources, whatever, how you manipulate the computer system, creation of fake website to deceive candidate for monetary gain, Not even this, you have to manipulate the computer system and exam system. Even if you're deceiving a student by saying that we are giving you paper, but it is not the paper, that can also be covered in this. Next is manipulation of the seating arrangement. If you have, in order to bring the group of people together who know each other, so that is also covered under the Act. Overall, the interesting aspect is UGC NET 2024 examination, which was cancelled on June 19 due to being compromised, will not be covered by the news legislation. So this is a very important question to ask, why they are not being covered. It should have been covered. Next is analysis. Overall, this act is considered a significant step towards reinstating the integrity of the public examinations in India, making them more making the recruitment process more fairer. That's why this act is considered as important, significant, and maybe it will try to bring back the people's faith in the system. Second is by imposing stringent penalties and covering a wide range of fraudulent activities. So penalties as well as a wide range of activities. By doing that, it actually aims to deter individual and organizing from engaging in such malpractices. So it is acting on both preventing as well as punishing, by which is improving the integrity of the system. With this, we are done with today's article. Now let's move on to the questions. Moving on to next article, that is bail in money laundering cases, a twin test under the PMLA. So in this, we are going to discuss some aspect of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which comes under the GS paper 2 prelims as well as mains, and the government policy. Why is it important? Because this is something around which in the UPSC even previously is asked question. Like in 2021, discuss how emerging technologies and globalization contributes to money laundering. Elaborate measures to tackle the problem of money laundering both at national and international level. So this topic, money laundering, it's a very important topic to UPSC. Previously, they have asked question, and they're more likely to ask again in future, given it was so much in news, and in mains there is more predictability. You can easily predict a question because of what was in news. Now, why money laundering was in news? Because the entire it was in news as a result of Delhi Chief Minister was put into jail under this particular act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, recently, what happened? When he was put into jail, the trial court granted him bail under the PMLA. But after some time, Delhi High Court stayed the bail after the enforcement directorate sought an urgent stay, arguing that trial court actually did not apply the twin test for the bail under the PMLA. So now let's discuss what is basically PMLA, under which the ED is saying that he should not be granted the bail. Now, to understand PMLA, there is a specific subsection under the PMLA, that is section 75. Section 75 of the PMLA says that bail is generally not granted for offence under this law with a few exceptions. That means generally there is an idiom that says that bail is a norm and jail is an exception. That's a normal circumstances. It's a normal idiom that is said in judiciary. So generally, an individual should be granted bail. Only in exceptional circumstances, she should not. Whereas in case of PMLA, it's reverse. In case of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the bail is exception, but the jail is norm. So that's what the section 75 says, that bail is generally not granted. He cannot be given jail. He cannot be given the bail. And even if the bail has to be given, then the public prosecutor, when he is hearing the application, the court must apply the twin test. The test number 1, which says that there should be reasonable ground to believe that accused is not guilty. First, we should, from a preliminary investigation, if you can say, okay, maybe he's not guilty. Second is, accused is not likely to commit an offence while on the bail. That means he's not in power, position, or influence where he can actually commit that offence again, or can exercise its influence upon the witness, etc. In that case, the bail can be given. So these are the twin tests: maybe not guilty and not likely to commit that offence again. So this under this twin test, the Arvind Kejriwal is again denied the bail. Now, what are the legal stance on twin test? Now, in 2017, Supreme Court itself in Nikesh Tarachand Saha versus Union of India struck down the twin test as unconstitutional. So, in 2017, it was unconstitutional. However, in 2018, Parliament again reinstated the twin test by passing the Finance Act of 2018, and thus the legal challenges were done away. It was reinstated, and even in 2022. the three-judge bench in Vijay Mandalal Chaudhary versus Union of India case upheld and reinstated this provision, rejecting the previous ruling which made it unconstitutional. So right now the current stance is that the twin test is basically a constitutional test. It is allowed in the constitution. Okay, so we understand that twin test is here to stay. Now, the article also talks about maybe it is staying, but morally it may not be right. Reason being, they say you're equating two crimes. One is money laundering and other one is terror act, crime related to terrorism or narcotics, which are too grave. Number one, these are too grave, and actually maybe just because the sentence are same, because this one also has a higher sentence and this one also has a higher sentence, but the gravity of the two particular crimes are different. How can you equate these two? Government say, of course, we can equate these two. Have you seen money launderers, the kind of influence, resource, and the advanced technology they use? It's very, very difficult to detect these crime and trace the evidences and catch these individuals. And also, the kind of money that is generated in PMLA, it can be utilized in terror financing and other activities act. So how can you say that these are not equal? They are actually be equal in terms of the consequences and also in terms of the technology they use. And thus the government is actually firm on this stand that it's going to apply the twin test, and it's going to be very firm in case of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So with this, we are done with this article. Now let's move on to the next one. Moving on to next article, manufacturing PMI rises to 16.9. So in this article, we will talk about purchasing managers index, which is part of GS paper 3 prelims as mains as mobilization of economic resources. And UPSC so often ask questions on indexes like which of the following is not sub-index of the World Bank's ease of doing business, maintenance of law and order, paying tax, registering property, or dealing with a construction permit. So that's how the index has been asked. Next is, why are we talking about this? Because recently HSBC survey has reported a rise in the manufacturing and the service and even composite PMI, manufacturing service and composite PMI to 60.9. Which data suggests that this means there has been increase in business activity as well as job creation. Both the output as well as the employment creation has increased to a level of fastest in over 18 years, and which is often driven by increase in domestic demand, reduce in market cost, and overall the investment sentiments are good in economy. But it also says that the outlook, the optimism has also weakened after 3 months or something. So that's what we will talk about in this article. But before that, let's move on to understanding what is PMI. PMI or Purchasing Manager Index is an economic indicator which is derived based on monthly surveys of the private sector companies. So the private sector companies are surveyed monthly, and based on that the insights are created, and these insights actually help you understand the business conditions in manufacturing and service sector. What is the output level, what is the sentiment, and this actually help you predict the future as well. So overall it creates a scenario for the understand the current and future business conditions. Now it is one more thing you need to understand is that it is calculated separately for manufacturing, services, and then one more, it is created on a composite. That means the service and manufacturing, the indexes are brought together and a weighted average is taken. So it is that's how 3 PMI indexes are taken. That's why I said PMI for manufacturing, service, and then a composite PMI. Now, for to understand it more, that the range of the PMIs varies from 0 to 100. And if the value of PMI is more than 50, then it shows that economy or the business is basically expanding. However, if the range is less than 50, it will show that business is contracting. And if it is near 50, that means the business activity or the sentiments are not changing. So that's the value of the PMI, different level of PMI significant, is what significance is. So right now you see it is nearly 60, above 60, that means our business is expanding. So that's a good news. Typically, it is released at the start of each month, and it is reliable data for the economic activities, which is often utilized by number one, businessmen to decide their output level, whether to increase or decrease. Various analysts who are giving the reports to the various companies. So analysts also use it. And lastly, this is also used by investor whosoever is planning to invest in a particular segment, particular sector. They keep this particular data in mind. this particular PMI is released by IHS Markit, which is part of the S&P Global. This compiles the data for over 14 economies. It creates the data for 14 economy, provide information, analytics, and solution for the key industry. S&P Global itself is a basically US-based leading credit rating provider company, which also help in benchmarking, analyzing, or giving data to the global capital and commodity markets. Okay. Now, HSBC Survey is also British multinational bank, is a financial service holding company. It operates over in 60 countries and offer a wide range of financial products, be that personal banking, commercial banking, wealth management, or global banking and market. So now let's coming back to the what is the significance of data. Why are we actually experiencing expansion? The reason behind expansion is number one, like I said, because there is increase in orders. So new orders are coming. Why will the order come? Because the domestic demand has boosted. The domestic demand is high. So number one is the demand is a strong reason. As a result, the manufacturing business activities has boosted. If the production will increase, what will happen? The employment will increase. So that's why we are experiencing the fastest pace of job creation in over 18 years. Third, overall, there is also, if the employment is increasing, income is increasing, it will further fuel the demand, and that's why the cycle is going on. Overall, the input cost has also come down. That's the reason the producers are more willing to create more. So input price have eased, which allows the companies to manage their costs better and improve margins. So that's why the manufacturing sector is performing better. So overall, there is robust business sentiment activity in the economy. However, there is a caution in the report which says that despite positive trend, the outlook for the future activity has dropped sharply. That means right now, the present situation is good, but the future predictions are not good. That's why we need to be more careful about. So with this, we are done with this article. Now let's move on to the next one. Moving on to last step, that is the practice question, prelims as well as mains. The first prelims question is, with reference to Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024, consider the following statement. The Act provides for fine up to 5 years imprisonment and a fine of up to 1 crore in exam malpractices. We saw that. So the statement 1 is correct. It was exactly like this is how we read it. The Act will come into effect from January 2025. Now that is wrong because it was notified on June 1, 2024, June 21. Then it will come effect from there onwards. So this date is wrong. The statement 1, 2 is also incorrect actually. Next is creating a fake website for cheating purpose is punishable. I discussed that. Of course, the particular statement was included. And lastly, the service providers found guilty under the Act can be barred from the conducting examination for a period of 5 years. So I was like, the statement was right till the last line, till the last sentence or the last word. That is, it was 4 years, not 5. Hence, the statement is wrong. So the answer is going to be your 1 and 3, which is A. So moving on to the next question. Article 15.1 of the UN Charter was in the recent New Deal with which of the following? Was recently in news. It was in news with which of the following? Now, under the UNSC, it is given power. So, you have to give reason ki Article 51 news mein tha. It deals with which of the following? It deals with number 1, the UNSC is given the power to establish a subsidiary organization or organs as it deemed necessary for the performance of its function. So, the statement is right, but it does not deal with the Article 51. In fact, it deals with the Article 29 of the UN Charter, and hence the option is wrong. Second is, it allows for the individual or collective self-defense if a UN member is attacked until the Security Council take action to maintain peace. I discussed that exactly. That was the Article 51 of the UN Charter, and hence the statement B is right. This is Article 51. Next is, let's also discuss the other article, though we have found the answer. It deals with the voting power of the member of the UNSC. That particular voting power comes from the Article 27 of the UN Charter and deals with the voting power of the member of UN General Assembly. Now, in case of UNGA, the voting power comes from the Article 18 of the UN Charter, and hence your answer is going to be B. Next is, moving on to the third question. That is, following the statement, consider the following statement regarding the PMI, Purchasing Manufacturing Index. PMI is an economic indicator derived from the quarterly survey of private sector companies. We read that specifically. It's monthly. Even few, like 2-3 days ago, we also conducted one more news was on the same item, and we had a question like that. Second is, PMI values above 50 indicate expansion. That is true. We studied that. PMI is compiled by IHS Markit for more than 20 economies worldwide. It was not 20, it was 40 economies. We read that as well. PMI reading are typically released at the start of the every month. So this statement is wrong. That's true. It's start of the every month, and hence your answer is 1 and 2 and 4. So your answer is going to be B. Moving on to PMI is primarily used to indicate unemployment rate, level of economic activity in manufacturing service sector. That's what we read, manufacturing service and combined, and hence the statement 2 is right. Third is inflation, no. Balance of trade, no. So answer is going to be B. The last question, that is a mains question, that is an era of high competition. States are competing to exceed the reservation limit. In light of this, can the reservation for jobs and higher education be a solution for the weaker section of society? Since reservation was in use, we are discussing about this. Now, how are we going to introduce this question? First, we're going to talk about reservation and from which article of the Indian Constitution it comes. So, you're going to talk about the reservation, Article 14 and 16, and that's how we move on to this. Then, exceeding the limit, then you will talk about Indira Sahani case. So, first reservation, and then you will talk about reservation, that Indira Sahani case ki limit comes from the Indira Sahani case. Then you will talk about how states are competing. Then you can give example of Bihar, Maharashtra, or even Karnataka, whatever the recent example that you have seen the states are giving, trying to give more and more reservation, or even Tamil Nadu. Now, we will come to the body part. So, that's basically your introduction part. A big introduction, but that was needed in this case. Number 2 is the body part. In the body part, you will give 2 arguments. Number 1 in favor and number 2 against. Where you will talk about why is it needed. Then you will talk about the rise in the weaker section of society. It doesn't hamper the meritocracy. It helps correct the historical justice, give them the appropriate platform for the catapult themselves, and later on society can grow. However, then you will go against. That reservation was never seen as a long-term panacea for the existing problems in society. Instead, it is a system, it is actually a symptom for the problems that exist in society. Be that the jobless growth, reservation, over-dependence on the agriculture, no proper growth of the manufacturing sector. That's what you will talk about. How education is not creating enough employment, how education does not lead to this. And that's why the reservation is not a solution. You need to come up with a long-term solution. And how the continued reservation can actually compromise the meritocracy after some time if you exceed the limit, and it takes away the opportunity for the other section of society, be that higher caste or anyone, even they deserve equal opportunity. And giving reservation takes away the attention from the real matter, that is development based on employment. And the government reservation that is given in government job create only 4% of jobs, so it is not a long-term solution at all. And thus you will start, then the conclusion part, you will give the suggestion. Okay, that we can focus on employment, investment, marginalized section. We can do something for marginalized section. We can have a special targeted scheme. We can focus on quality education, skilling of individual, vocational education, etc., etc. And lastly, you will say that we need more innovative solution to deal with economic problem than just relying on the reservation. So with this, we are done with this particular video today. If you have any doubt, please comment in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching this video.